on behalf of the University of the South Pacific, or USP as we are more fondly known, I'm privileged and honoured to welcome His Royal Highness to our Levala campus. USP is the premier tertiary education provider in the Pacific region. Our regional character is reflective of our 12 member countries. And students from across the Pacific make USP a dynamic centre of learning, teaching, research and innovation. Our students go on to be national leaders, captains of industry and influential cultural advocates who shape public policy and guide Pacific countries as they address the challenges that we face in the region, such as climate change.
Good health. This is another picture of me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that good. I've never tubed in my life. This is in Indonesia. There's a lot of pollution in the oceans. Just think about this. According to the United Nations Environment Programme, 8 million tons of plastic is released into the oceans every year. That means 15 tons of plastic every single minute. So in this session here, that we're together, there will be 900 tons of plastic litter that will end up in the ocean. 900 tons. Obviously, that's not sustainable for the oceans, and obviously that's not sustainable for us, human beings. Our common oceans are under threat. So we, all of us who live on this planet, have to stop using the oceans as a dumping ground. International cooperation to address these threats is vital, and the countries of the South Pacific and Norway share a commitment to fighting marine pollution. Because for us, as for you, I guess, the ocean is key to our history, identity, and economy. In Norway, the ocean runs like a green thread through our history. For thousands of years, we have lived by the sea, and we have lived of the sea. The South Pacific and Norway share challenges, but we also share opportunities. As ocean states, there could be a great opportunity for us in the future. Although the oceans cover some 70% of the Earth, only a tiny portion of global food production comes from the ocean. Only 2 to 3% of global food production comes from the ocean. By 2050, there will be around 10 billion people on the planet, and demand for food will increase. Some of the solution, and maybe much of the solution to this challenge, will lie in the oceans. Fish and marine products could become a much greater source of wealth for many small islands and coastal states. Still, in order for this to happen, the world needs sustainable ocean management. We need to tackle the problems of overfishing and pollution. Now let's turn to climate change. Climate change is real and is man-made. You in the south and we in the north are already experiencing the effects. Sea levels are rising and cyclones are occurring in the Pacific Islands more frequently than before. Coral reefs are dying, and Norway is seeing a rapid receding ice cap in the Arctic. Our winters are becoming shorter than before, and our glaciers are getting smaller. This is how we are connected. The ice in the north is melting, which leads to the ocean coming up, the ocean rising all over the world. And of course, in this region, where you have done the least, I guess, to create the problem, you're bearing the brunt of the consequences. I wanted to show you some snapshots also from this trip and some of the solutions. This is from Tonga, so one of the things we can do is regrow mangrove trees. The mangroves, they make a barrier that protect the sea line, the beaches, and create a barrier that helps so that the villages are more protected. Many of the mangroves have been cut down, so to replant them is important, and this is from a project doing exactly that in Tonga. And this is 2 days ago outside at the Vanau Levy Reef, the Great Sea Reef here in Fiji. So this beautiful underwater world is home to this great biodiversity, fantastic underwater existence of all these sea animals, fishes and other sea animals, but it's under threat, as I said. Now, having listened to me so far, you might think that I am a pessimist. There are challenges, big, big challenges. But despite that, I think that even though we are facing big challenges, I am aspiring to be a hopeful realist. And I'll give you 3 reasons for that. International cooperation, technology, and leadership. Let me run you through the 3. So these are some of the reasons to be hopeful and some of the solutions. International cooperation. We need to work together to achieve a better future for us all. At this university, there's an example of exactly that. It's no coincidence that the collaboration between the University of the South Pacific and the University of Bergen in Norway focuses on oceans and climate change. We know that many Norwegian students have spent up to a year here on campus as exchange students, and researchers from both universities in the fields of marine studies, climate science, and Pacific studies continue to visit both Suva and Bergen to collaborate on projects. And we see that this collaboration is continuing to grow. For example, through the establishment of a new co-founded Norway Pacific professorial chair in oceans and climate change. You know about this, right? Right here at USP, this is happening. To give another example, in September last year, the high-level panel for sustainable ocean economy, initiated and led by our Prime Minister, the Norwegian Prime Minister Solberg, met for the first time. Over the next year, the panel will study evidence-based proposals for how we can deal with ocean problems. 2 of the panel's 14 members are from this region, and we greatly value the contribution made by Prime Minister Bainimarama of Fiji and the President Remengesau of Palau. The panel will present a roadmap to a sustainable ocean economy to the UN Ocean Conference in 2020. Norway will also work to strengthen the ocean agenda when it hosts the Our Oceans Conference in October this year. We hope to see many Pacific leaders at the conference, and Palau will be hosting the next Our Ocean Conference in 2020. No one needs to explain the importance of climate change to islanders. Small island states are among the countries that contribute the least, as I said, to global carbon emissions. But the effects are quite present. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Bainimarama, the Pacific has spoken out clearly on the global stage, raising the critical issues of climate change and the oceans. Fiji's leadership of COP23 and the UN Ocean Conference was instrumental in enabling the Pacific to influence processes and agreements vital to ocean management and fighting the impacts of climate change. The Pacific Island states and Norway have been engaged in long-standing cooperation to fight climate change. And together, we have been core members of the High ambition coalition in climate negotiations. We have constantly called for more ambitious global climate action, also in the follow-up to the Paris Agreement. As the latest report of the International Panel on Climate Change shows, this partnership is now more important than ever. Now, I have been talking about global cooperation. Let me now move to the second reason why I'm hopeful: technology. Obviously, the world needs to shift from carbon-based energy to clean energy. We need to find ways of producing our energy in a sustainable way. One of the main obstacles to this shift has been the price on renewable energy. But luckily, this is changing right now. So let me show you some examples based on the knowledge of Rames Nam, the American technologist and professor at the Singularity University. This is a picture of a coal power plant in China. It costs around 5 US cents to produce 1 kilowatt hour of energy from a newly built power plant running on coal today. This is what has been considered the cheapest source of energy until now. But this is changing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the sun, or at least a picture of it. The total energy hitting the Earth's surface from the sun in 1 hour is equivalent to what is needed for energy use on the entire globe for 1 year. That means that by covering just 0.4% of the Earth's surface in solar panels, we could meet our total energy needs by 2030. Until recently, solar power was too expensive. But thanks to technological innovation, it is becoming increasingly viable. Since the 1970s and until today, we have declined the price on solar by 350 times. So in the 70s, it was $77, and the equivalent today is now 22 US cents in 2019. This is a solar power plant in India. Now remember the price of coal, which was 5 US cents per kilowatt hour. And this is the price of 1 kilowatt hour in India, 4 US cents dollars. This has already led to planned coal plants being cancelled. You might think that this is in a low-cost country, which is true, and there's a lot of sun there. So what if we move to Europe? This is a solar power plant in Germany, and the cost is 4 euro cents per kilowatt hour, which is around 4.5 US cents. So a little bit more expensive, but not much, and still cheaper than coal. Now, the prices vary a lot on these different projects. I just wanted to make sure that, to let you know that the prices do vary a lot. But these are some examples that the prices are really coming down and becoming competitive to the more traditional sources of carbon energy. Now, what about batteries? Storage has been a problem, right? How do we store energy? And it's expensive to store energy. Now, this is a graph from Bloomberg. The lithium-ion battery pack prices have dropped 85% since 2010. So in the last 8 years, 9 years, it's dropped from 1,160 to 176 for the equivalent. So it's dropping a lot. And it's dropping faster than what has been predicted. Okay, so I've been giving you a few examples of international cooperation. and of technology. So now let's move to the third reason to be hopeful, and that's leadership. This is Bojan Sluit. He is from Holland, the Netherlands. And when he was 15 or 16, he was reading about plastic in the oceans. And he was reading about the garbage patch, the great garbage patch in the Pacific. And he wanted to do something about it. So he started the ocean cleanup to collect plastic out of the ocean. So he was doing rocket science at university, but then this project of his took over, so he quit his studies, which you shouldn't. And then he built his company, the Ocean Cleanup, and he's now employing a lot of engineers. I was talking to him, and he said he was the youngest guy in the company, had only hired older people. And it's really quite fascinating how this has been working out. They have their first prototype ready, and it's been deployed into the ocean. And I will let the Ocean Cleanup video explain it to you.
1.8 trillion pieces of plastic float at the surface of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Here, the Ocean Cleanup is deploying the world's first technological solution to this growing problem. The principle behind it is simple. Create a coastline where there are none. Concentrate the plastic and take it out.
And this is what it looked like when they towed out their first prototype, full scale, from under the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco. Now they are having some issues. They still need to work on it to make sure that it works as they want it to. But they are hoping to be able to clean more than 50% of the garbage patch the next 5 years. This is Greta Thunberg. Have any of you heard of Greta Thunberg? Yeah, is she a well-known name here? More or less. So she's Swedish and 15 years old. She was reading about climate change and decided that she wanted to go on strike for the climate. That's what it says, a school strike for the climate. And she started doing that outside of the parliament in Stockholm, in Sweden. And that movement led to now a few weeks ago, there being 1.6 million strikers around the world on 7 continents, 125 countries, in 2,000 places. This is a picture from outside the Norwegian parliament in Oslo. And these are all the school kids that have taken the day off school, sometimes with permission and some of them without permission, to go and stand up for our common challenges and to stand up for Mother Earth. So let's look to Bojan and to Greta and follow their lead and take action. So there you have them: international cooperation, technology, and leadership. That is what makes me hopeful. Ladies and gentlemen, on the world stage, we are quite small countries. However, our key interests, such as fighting climate change and securing healthy oceans, call for global action. Small states like ours depend on an international system based on rules and rights, and not power and might. International laws and conventions, including the law of the sea, have served us well for many decades. And we need strong international organizations if our voices are to be heard. Norway attaches great importance to the UN and is one of its most important contributors. During the last 16 years, I have had the privilege of working as a Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations Development Program. especially focusing on the Sustainable Development Goals. You've all heard of the Sustainable Development Goals? Yes? Most of you? All right. They are these 17 concrete goals that we are to meet or reach by 2030. The SDGs unites us all in a joint effort to address our common challenges and to shape our common future. And this is perhaps not easy, not at least the case for goal number 14. Life below water. Today, some people are questioning the relevance of the international system of cooperation. And I think this is a cause of great concern. We need to stand together in defending the multilateral system and promoting the SDGs. Dear friends, during this visit, I will meet many of today's leaders in the region. And this here has been my opportunity to speak to the young leaders of today and of tomorrow. I hope you here at the USP will acquire the knowledge you need to shape the policies of the future. Knowledge that will enable you to tackle climate change and ensure sustainable ocean management. The research and learning that take place here at the USP are also important for us in Norway. You can be the change makers, the ones that are pushing action. The American psychologist and philosopher William James once wrote, "We are like islands in the sea, separate on the surface, but connected in the deep." The natural world connects us all. We may be far apart, but the oceans unite us. We share common challenges, and we need to unite to solve them. As human beings, we know that our footprints are all over the globe. We now need our fingerprints to be all over the solutions. Thank you for your attention. Vinaka Vaku Levu.